Welcome to your soul's hidden mission. This is not simply a book about purpose. It is a journey into one of the deepest questions preserved in Vedic wisdom. Why did your soul return to this world? The Vedas teach that you are not merely a body moving through a random life. You are an eternal consciousness carrying karma, lessons, abilities, and an unfinished responsibility from beyond this birth. That is why certain experiences keep calling you. That is why some struggles repeat. That is why success can still feel empty when your deeper purpose remains untouched. Your soul did not come here only to survive, earn, achieve, and grow old. It came to awaken something, heal something, serve something, and complete something before leaving this world. In the chapters ahead, you will discover how your mission was hidden inside your pain, your natural gifts, your relationships, your repeated patterns, and the quiet inner voice you may have ignored for years. Listen slowly. Some truths are not learned for the first time. They are remembered. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The mission your soul accepted before birth. There is a reason your life has never felt completely random. Even during the moments when everything seemed confusing, some part of you may have sensed that your story was carrying you somewhere. A certain kind of pain kept returning. A certain dream refused to disappear. A certain question followed you through every season of life. Why am I here? According to Vedic wisdom, this question does not arise because your life lacks meaning. It arises because your soul remembers that meaning exists, even when your mind has forgotten it. The body begins at birth, but the Atman does not. The eternal self enters human life, carrying impressions, tendencies, lessons, and unfinished karma from journeys the conscious mind can no longer recall. You may not remember what came before this life, but the direction of your life still reveals what your soul came here to face. That direction is often hidden inside what repeatedly demands your attention. Some people are born with a powerful need to protect others. Some feel drawn toward truth, teaching, healing, creation, justice, devotion, or service. Others spend years trying to escape a wound, only to discover that the wound itself has been shaping them into the person they were meant to become. Your mission may not first appear as a gift. Sometimes it appears as a burden. The child who felt unheard may grow into someone who gives others a voice. The person who experienced abandonment may become a source of stability for people who have never known safety. The one who struggled through darkness may eventually carry a light that reaches those who would never listen to someone untouched by suffering. This does not mean every painful event was deliberately chosen in detail, nor does it mean you should accept injustice without action. Vedic thought does not ask you to worship suffering. It asks you to discover what consciousness can become through the way you respond to suffering. Your hidden mission is not merely about what happens to you. It is about what awakens within you because of what happens. This is why two people can live through similar circumstances and emerge with completely different souls. One may become bitter, another may become wise. One may repeat the pain, another may end the cycle. The event is not the entire lesson. Your response is where the mission begins. Before entering this world, the soul does not come merely to collect pleasant experiences. Human birth is considered precious because it gives consciousness the opportunity to choose. You can repeat old patterns or become aware of them. You can remain controlled by fear or step beyond it. You can use your gifts only for recognition or transform them into service. This freedom is sacred. It is also frightening, because once you begin to understand that your life carries a deeper mission, you can no longer blame every chapter on fate. Karma may shape the road, but your awareness shapes how you walk it. Many people wait for their mission to arrive as a dramatic revelation. They imagine a voice from the heavens, a perfect sign, or a sudden certainty that removes every doubt. But the soul often speaks more quietly. It speaks through the work that leaves you tired but deeply alive. It speaks through the truth you cannot keep pretending not to know. It speaks through the injustice that disturbs you more than it disturbs others. It speaks through the ability people naturally seek from you, It speaks through the dream that returns after every attempt to become someone else. Your mission is rarely hidden because the universe wants to keep it from you. It is hidden because fear, comparison, attachment, and social expectation have covered it. You were taught to ask what career would impress people, what path would provide the most approval, what identity would make you appear successful. But the soul asks a different question: what must be expressed through you before this body is returned to the earth? That question changes everything. It turns talent into responsibility. It turns pain into instruction. It turns time into something sacred, because this body will not remain forever. The opportunities in front of you will not remain forever. The people you love will not remain forever. One day, every possession and every title will be left behind. What remains is the consciousness you developed, the karma you transformed, the love you gave, the truth you lived, and the lives that were changed because you had the courage to become who you were called to be. Your soul's mission may be grand, but it may also be simple. It may not require an audience. It may be to end a pattern that has wounded your family for generations. It may be to raise one child with the love you never received. It may be to create something honest, to protect the vulnerable, to teach, to forgive, to awaken, or to live with such integrity that your presence becomes a form of guidance. The ego wants the mission to make you important. The soul wants the mission to make you useful. That difference must be understood. A true mission does not always bring applause. Sometimes it asks you to walk away from what others admire. Sometimes it requires patience while no one understands your path. Sometimes it asks you to build quietly, serve invisibly, and continue without recognition. But when you are moving toward it, something inside you begins to settle. Life may still be difficult, yet the difficulty no longer feels meaningless. You may still feel fear, but you also feel direction. You may not know every step, but you sense that you are no longer betraying yourself. This is the first sign of alignment, not constant happiness. Inner honesty. Your soul accepted a mission before this life began, but it did not give your mind the entire map. It gave you clues, your gifts, your wounds, your longings, your values, your repeated lessons, and the quiet truth that becomes louder whenever you try to ignore it. Your task is not to invent a purpose impressive enough for the world. Your task is to become still enough to recognize what has been calling you all along. And perhaps the reason you have felt restless is not because you are lost. Perhaps it is because some part of you already knows that you were born for more than the life you have been settling for. Chapter 2. Why your soul chose this exact life. Have you ever looked at your life and wondered, why this family? Why these struggles? Why this body? Why this path instead of another? These questions have echoed through the human heart for thousands of years. Most people believe the answers are hidden somewhere in the future, but the Vedas invite us to look in the opposite direction. They teach that the explanation for your present life existed long before your first breath. Nothing about your incarnation is without meaning. The ancient sages describe the soul as an eternal traveler moving through countless lifetimes, carrying the subtle impressions of every thought, every action, and every intention. These impressions, known as samskaras, shape the circumstances into which the soul is born. They are not punishments. They are not rewards in the ordinary sense. They are opportunities designed to help consciousness continue its journey toward awakening. This means your life is not random. The family you entered, the culture that shaped you, the talents you naturally possess, the fears you have battled, even the questions that have quietly followed you since childhood, all of them form the classroom your soul needed for its next lesson. Imagine a student preparing for an important examination. The teacher does not hand every student the same questions. Each receives the test they are ready to face. In the same way, every soul arrives with a different curriculum because every soul is growing through different experiences. This is why comparing your life to someone else's is one of the greatest illusions. You cannot understand another person's journey because you cannot see the lessons their soul came here to learn. The Vedas remind us that comparison is born from the ego. but understanding is born from wisdom. Perhaps you have spent years wishing you had been born into another family. Perhaps you wished for different parents, different opportunities, a different childhood, or a different beginning. Those feelings are deeply human. But Vedic wisdom asks a profound question. What if the very circumstances you wanted to escape were the ones your soul needed most? What if the people who challenged you the most became the greatest teachers of your life? What if the wounds you carry are not signs that your life went wrong, but invitations to become someone your soul could never have become otherwise? This does not mean every painful experience should be accepted without discernment, or that harmful actions are justified. The Vedas never encourage passivity in the face of injustice. They teach responsibility, compassion, and righteous action. The lesson is not that suffering is good. The lesson is that suffering can become sacred when it awakens consciousness instead of hardening the heart. Many people spend decades asking, "Why did this happen to me?" But the soul asks a different question. What is this experience trying to awaken within me? That single shift transforms the entire journey. Suddenly, failure becomes more than failure. It becomes preparation. Rejection becomes redirection. Loss becomes detachment. Waiting becomes patience. Silence becomes self-discovery. The soul begins to see purpose where the mind once saw only disappointment. There is another truth the Vedas quietly reveal. Your mission is not separate from your life. It is woven into it. The place where you feel the deepest resistance often hides the doorway to your greatest transformation. The challenges that refuse to leave may not be standing in your way. They may be standing at the entrance to the person you are becoming. Think about the river. A river does not complain about the rocks in its path. It flows around them, over them, and sometimes through them. Over time, the rocks that once seemed like obstacles become the very reason the river develops its strength and beauty. Your soul grows in much the same way. Every challenge invites greater awareness. Every disappointment asks for deeper wisdom. Every relationship reveals another part of yourself waiting to be understood. And every decision becomes an opportunity either to repeat old karma or to create a new direction. This is why human life is considered so precious in the Vedas, not because it is free from pain, but because it offers the rare opportunity to consciously transform it. No other achievement compares to this. You may earn wealth, you may gain recognitions, you may fulfill every worldly ambition, yet if your consciousness remains asleep, your soul leaves carrying the same unfinished lessons it arrived with. But when you begin to understand why this life was given to you, everything changes. Your struggles no longer feel meaningless. Your past no longer feels like an enemy. Even your scars begin to reveal hidden wisdom. You stop asking why your journey looks different from everyone else's. Instead, you begin honoring the path your soul carefully prepared long before you entered this world. Perhaps your greatest breakthrough will not come from changing your life. Perhaps it will come from finally understanding why your soul chose it in the first place. Chapter 3. The hidden signs you are walking toward your mission. Your soul's mission rarely arrives as a single dramatic revelation. Most people expect purpose to appear like a flash of lightning, clear, loud, and impossible to misunderstand. They wait for a perfect sign, a sudden vision, or a moment in which every question disappears. But Vedic wisdom teaches that the soul usually guides you in a quieter way. It places patterns in your life, repeats certain lessons, strengthens particular desires, and creates an inner restlessness whenever you move too far from the path you are meant to follow. One of the clearest signs that you are walking toward your hidden mission is that your life begins to feel more honest. This does not mean it becomes easier. In fact, the path of truth can initially feel more difficult because it asks you to release identities, relationships, and ambitions that were built for approval rather than alignment. Yet beneath the difficulty, something inside you becomes calmer. You may still feel uncertain about the future, but you no longer feel divided within yourself. Your actions, values, and inner voice begin moving in the same direction. Another sign is that the things which once satisfied you begin to lose their power. Success may still matter, but it no longer feels like enough. Praise may still feel pleasant, but it no longer controls your decisions. You begin to notice that the life you were taught to desire is not necessarily the life your soul came here to live. This can feel like confusion at first, but it is often the beginning of awakening. The old self is losing its authority, while the deeper self is slowly becoming impossible to ignore. You may also notice that certain themes keep returning throughout your life. Perhaps you repeatedly find yourself helping people through pain, bringing peace into conflict, teaching what others struggle to understand, creating beauty out of chaos, or protecting those who feel unseen. These patterns are not always accidental. They may reveal the kind of energy your soul came here to express. What others see as a natural ability may actually be part of your dharma, the unique way your consciousness is meant to serve life. Vedic thought teaches that dharma is not merely a career or public role. It is the right expression of your nature in harmony with truth. A person can have a successful profession and still be far from dharma, while another can live a simple life and fulfill a profound spiritual mission. Your hidden mission is not measured by fame, wealth, or the number of people who recognize you. It is measured by how faithfully you live what your soul knows to be true. Another powerful sign is that your deepest wounds begin to change meaning. At first, pain feels like something that only damaged you. Later, as awareness grows, you begin to see how it developed qualities that comfort alone could never have produced. Your loneliness may have taught you to recognize the silent suffering of others. Your rejection may have made you more compassionate. Your failures may have stripped away pride and taught you humility. Your confusion may have forced you to search for a truth that easy answers would never have revealed. This does not mean the wound itself was good. It means your soul refused to let the wound remain meaningless. It transformed experience into wisdom. When this begins to happen, you are moving closer to your mission because your pain is no longer controlling your identity. It is becoming a source of understanding, depth, and service. You may also feel drawn toward certain ideas, teachings, places, or forms of work without fully understanding why. Something within you recognizes them before the mind can explain them. The Vedas describe the soul as carrying impressions from previous experience, and these impressions may awaken when you encounter something connected to your deeper path. A book, a teacher, a conversation, or even a moment of silence may feel strangely familiar, as if you are not learning something new, but remembering something old. Pay attention to what gives you energy after the initial excitement disappears. Many desires are temporary, but a true calling tends to return. You may abandon it, doubt it, or bury it under responsibility, yet it finds its way back into your thoughts. The soul is patient, but it is persistent. It will continue placing the same truth before you until you are willing to face it. Another sign appears through resistance. Sometimes the closer you move toward your mission, the louder your fear becomes. This happens because the ego prefers familiarity. Even when familiarity is painful, it would rather keep a known identity than step into an unknown purpose. You may suddenly question your abilities, worry about judgment, or convince yourself that it is too late. These thoughts do not always mean you are on the wrong path. Sometimes they mean you are approaching the edge of the life that fear has built for you. The Vedas remind us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act from dharma rather than from fear. Your mission may ask you to speak when silence would be easier, begin when certainty is unavailable, or walk away from what no longer reflects who you are becoming. Each of these choices strengthens the soul, because every truthful action weakens the control of old karma. You may also begin to experience meaningful synchronicities. The right person appears at the moment you need guidance. A forgotten opportunity returns. A repeated symbol or message meets you across different circumstances. These moments should not be used to avoid reason or responsibility, but they can serve as gentle confirmations that your inner and outer worlds are beginning to align. When intention becomes sincere, life often reveals pathways that were invisible while you were living in contradiction. Another sign is the desire to contribute rather than merely consume. The ego asks, "What can life give me?" The awakened soul begins asking, "What can move through me?" You start feeling that your talents are not possessions but responsibilities. Your knowledge is not only for personal advantage. Your healing is not only for your own comfort. Something within you wants to give, build, protect, guide, or create in a way that leaves life better than you found it. This shift from self-centered ambition to meaningful service is one of the strongest signs of alignment. It does not require abandoning your needs or rejecting prosperity. Vedic wisdom does not teach that purpose must be miserable. It teaches that the fruits of action should not become the master of action. You may receive success, but success is no longer the only reason you act. You act because the action itself is true. As you walk toward your mission, your relationships may also begin to change. Some people will recognize your growth and support it. Others may resist because the version of you they understood is disappearing. This can be painful, but not every relationship is designed to continue through every stage of your awakening. Some people enter your life to accompany you, while others arrive to reveal what you must outgrow. The important question is not whether everyone remains. The important question is whether you remain faithful to your deeper truth without becoming cruel, arrogant, or careless. True spiritual growth does not make you feel superior. It makes you more responsible for the energy you bring into the world. You will know you are moving toward your hidden mission when silence becomes less frightening. The person who is lost often avoids stillness because stillness reveals the distance between the life being lived and the life the soul is asking for. But as alignment grows, silence becomes a place of return. You begin hearing the guidance that noise had buried. You no longer need constant distraction to escape yourself. There may also be a growing sense of urgency, not the anxious urgency of the ego, but the quiet awareness that time is sacred. You realize that this body has a limit. This opportunity will not remain forever, and the gifts within you are meant to be used. This awareness does not create panic. It creates devotion. You become more selective about where your attention goes because you understand that attention is life. The path will not always feel clear. There will be seasons when the next step is hidden, when progress feels slow, and when old doubts return. But even in uncertainty, the soul leaves signs. It gives you a deeper peace after honest action, a stronger discomfort after self-betrayal, a repeated attraction toward meaningful work, and an increasing desire to live with integrity. Your hidden mission is not waiting in some distant future. It is revealing itself through the choices already in front of you. It appears in the truth you are afraid to speak, the gift you keep postponing, the pattern you are finally ready to end, and the service that makes your life feel larger than your personal fears. You do not need to see the entire road. You only need enough courage to follow the next truthful step. The mission becomes visible as you live it. The path appears as you walk it, and the more faithfully you respond to the quiet guidance within, the more clearly your soul begins to remember why it came here. Chapter 4. What pulls your soul away from its true purpose? There are moments in life when you can feel, with great clarity, that you are meant for something deeper. You sense that your days should carry more meaning, that your gifts should be used more fully, and that the life you are living is not yet the life your soul is asking you to enter. Yet even after recognizing this, many people remain trapped in the same patterns for years. They know something must change, but they continue returning to what weakens them, distracts them, and keeps them far from the mission hidden within their life. According to Vedic wisdom, the soul itself does not lose its purpose. The Atman remains untouched, clear, and eternal. What becomes confused is the mind. What becomes attached is the ego. What becomes frightened is the personality that has built its identity around survival, approval, and familiarity. Your mission does not disappear, but it can become buried beneath layers of conditioning so thick that you begin mistaking the expectations of the world for the voice of your own soul. One of the greatest forces pulling you away from your true purpose is the desire to be accepted by everyone. From childhood, most people learn that love and approval are connected to obedience. They are praised when they fit expectations and questioned when they begin thinking differently. Slowly, they become skilled at reading what others want from them, but they lose the ability to recognize what their own inner truth is asking. They choose careers because they are respected, relationships because they are expected, lifestyles because they appear successful, and beliefs because they are familiar. They may build a life that looks complete from the outside while feeling increasingly absent from it on the inside. The need for approval is powerful because it disguises itself as responsibility. You may tell yourself that you are only being practical, loyal, patient, or mature. But beneath those explanations, there may be a deeper fear. The fear that if you become who you truly are, some people will no longer understand you. The soul asks for truth, but the ego asks for belonging. When these two directions conflict, many people abandon themselves in order to remain accepted. The Vedas do not teach rebellion for its own sake. They do not tell you to reject every tradition, relationship, or duty. They teach discernment. They ask you to understand the difference between dharma and conditioning. Dharma brings you into deeper integrity, responsibility, and service. Conditioning makes you live mechanically, without awareness, simply because something has always been done that way. One is sacred alignment. The other is unconscious repetition. Another force that pulls the soul away from its mission is comparison. Comparison seems harmless at first. You observe someone else's success, beauty, relationship, wealth, or influence, and you begin measuring your life against theirs. But comparison slowly replaces your path with someone else's image. You stop listening to your own nature and begin chasing what appears valuable in the eyes of others. The problem is not inspiration. Inspiration can awaken possibility. The problem begins when admiration becomes imitation and you start believing that another person's destiny should become your own. Every soul carries a different karmic history, a different set of abilities, a different temperament, and a different lesson. The path that liberates one person may imprison another. A life that appears ordinary to the world may be exactly right for one soul, while a life filled with status may be deeply misaligned for another. Comparison ignores this. It looks only at the visible surface and judges the entire journey from appearances. This is why the more you compare, the less clearly you can hear your own direction. You may begin abandoning the work that truly matters to you because it does not seem impressive enough. You may force yourself into a pace that your body and mind cannot sustain. You may treat your natural gifts as unimportant because they are not currently celebrated. In this way, comparison does not only create jealousy, it creates spiritual forgetfulness. Fear is another powerful barrier. Most people do not avoid their mission because they lack talent. They avoid it because answering the call would require becoming someone they have not yet had the courage to be. Your purpose may ask you to become visible after years of hiding. It may ask you to speak honestly after a lifetime of silence. It may require leaving comfort, facing criticism, accepting uncertainty, or beginning again without guarantees. The mind interprets uncertainty as danger because it cannot control what it cannot predict. It prefers the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. This is why people remain in lifeless work, damaging relationships, repetitive habits, and false identities long after they know those things no longer serve them. Familiar suffering can feel safer than unfamiliar freedom. The ego says, "At least I know who I am here." The soul replies, "But this is not who you came here to remain." This inner conflict can continue for years. You may feel bursts of courage, followed by retreat. You may begin moving toward your purpose and then sabotage your progress when the path becomes real. You may suddenly create reasons to delay, Tell yourself you need more knowledge, more confidence, more money, more permission, or a perfect moment. Yet often these reasons are not preparation, they are fear, wearing the clothing of wisdom. There is value in patience, planning, and skill. But there comes a point when preparation becomes avoidance. You must learn to recognize when you are truly not ready, and when the deeper truth is that you are afraid to discover what might happen if you finally stopped holding yourself back. Attachment is another force that pulls consciousness away from its mission. In Vedic philosophy, attachment is not the same as love. Love allows truth, growth, and freedom. Attachment tries to possess, control, and preserve. It demands that life remain as it is, because change threatens the identity built around it. You may be attached to a person, a role, an image, a belief, a success, or even a wound. The attachment may be painful, yet releasing it feels like losing part of yourself. Sometimes people remain loyal to suffering because the suffering has become familiar. They have repeated the same story so many times that they no longer know who they would be without it. The wounded identity gives them an explanation for their life, and although it causes pain, it also protects them from responsibility. As long as they remain the person to whom life happened, they do not have to become the person who consciously chooses what happens next. Your soul's mission often requires the death of an old identity. Not physical death, but the ending of the self you created to survive the past. This may be the version of you who always remains quiet, always rescues others, always seeks permission, always expects abandonment, always chooses what is safe, or always believes that personal value must be earned through exhaustion. The soul cannot fully express itself through an identity built entirely from fear. At some point, that identity must be questioned. You must ask whether the habits that once protected you are now imprisoning you. What helped you survive one chapter may prevent you from entering the next. Pleasure can also become a distraction from purpose. The Vedas do not condemn pleasure. Beauty, enjoyment, love, rest, and celebration all have a rightful place in life. The danger begins when pleasure becomes escape. When every uncomfortable emotion must be silenced immediately, growth becomes impossible. If you constantly distract yourself with entertainment, consumption, attention, food, work, relationships, or stimulation, you may never remain still long enough to hear what your soul has been trying to tell you. The modern world rewards distraction. It keeps the senses occupied from morning until night, and then convinces you that exhaustion is normal. Your attention is repeatedly pulled outward, toward noise, images, opinions, urgency, and desire. Yet the soul speaks in stillness. It does not compete with chaos. It waits beneath it. This is why silence can feel uncomfortable when you have been living far from yourself. In silence, the hidden dissatisfaction rises. The truth you avoided becomes harder to escape. You begin noticing the grief behind your busyness, the loneliness behind constant company, the fear behind ambition, and the emptiness behind consumption. Many people run from stillness because they think it creates discomfort. But stillness does not create what is there. It reveals it. Another obstacle is the belief that purpose must arrive with certainty. People wait to feel completely confident before acting, but spiritual direction rarely works that way. The path often becomes clear only after movement begins. You are given enough light for the next step, not the entire road. If you demand total certainty before beginning, you may remain in the same place forever. The Bhagavad Gita repeatedly emphasizes right action without attachment to the result. This is essential because attachment to outcomes creates paralysis. You begin asking whether you will succeed, whether people will approve, whether your work will be recognized, and whether your effort will produce exactly what you want. These questions place the ego at the center. Dharma asks a different question. Is this action true, necessary, and aligned with what I know I must do? When the action is right, your responsibility is to offer yourself fully. The result belongs to a greater field of causes, consequences, timing, and forces beyond your control. This does not mean you should act carelessly. It means you should not allow fear of the result to silence truthful action. Your hidden mission can also be delayed by resentment. Resentment keeps your attention tied to the past. It may feel like strength because it protects you from vulnerability, but in reality, it continues giving power to what hurt you. Every time you rehearse the injustice without transforming it, part of your life energy remains attached to the event. Forgiveness in Vedic and spiritual thought does not mean denying harm or trusting someone who remains unsafe. It means refusing to let another person's action become the center of your consciousness forever. You release the demand that the past must change before you are allowed to move forward. You take your energy back. This is necessary because your soul's mission requires energy. It requires attention, courage, discipline, and presence. If your mind is constantly fighting old battles, there is little strength left for the work you came here to do. You cannot build the next chapter while living emotionally inside the previous one. Another distraction is the pursuit of spiritual identity instead of spiritual transformation. Some people become attached to being seen as awakened, wise, peaceful, or different. They collect teachings, rituals, symbols, and language, but their character remains unchanged. They speak of detachment while clinging to recognition. They speak of compassion while judging everyone who disagrees with them. They speak of truth while avoiding the truths that expose their own ego. The mission of the soul is not to create a spiritual image. It is to purify consciousness. This transformation appears in the way you respond when no one is watching, how you treat people who cannot benefit you, how honestly you face your own motives, and whether your presence brings greater clarity or greater confusion into the lives around you. Knowledge can guide you, but knowledge alone is not awakening. You may understand every teaching and still remain controlled by anger, fear, pride, and attachment. The Vedas repeatedly point beyond intellectual accumulation toward realization. Truth must be lived. Wisdom must enter action. Otherwise, spiritual knowledge becomes another possession of the ego. There is also the trap of believing that your mission must be extraordinary. The ego imagines purpose as something public, admired, and historically important. It wants the mission to prove that you are special, but the soul is not concerned with spectacle. It is concerned with completion. Your mission may not involve changing the whole world. It may involve changing the world of one person. It may be to end cruelty within your family, raise a child with consciousness, create honest work, care for someone in need, speak truth in a place where silence has caused harm, or carry peace into an environment shaped by fear. A quiet life can hold enormous spiritual power when it is lived in alignment. The desire to be extraordinary can make you overlook the sacred work directly in front of you. You wait for a grand calling while ignoring the person who needs your compassion today. You dream about future influence while neglecting present integrity. You want to serve humanity while becoming impatient with the human beings closest to you. Dharma often begins in small acts. It begins with how you speak, how you listen, how you work, how you keep your word, and how you respond to suffering. Great missions are built from ordinary moments lived consciously. Another force that pulls the soul away from purpose is exhaustion. When the nervous system is overwhelmed and the body is neglected, spiritual clarity becomes difficult. Some people treat constant depletion as devotion. They believe that sacrificing every need proves their goodness. Yet a burned-out mind cannot hear subtle guidance clearly. An exhausted body struggles to carry a meaningful mission. The body is temporary, but it is also the instrument through which your dharma is expressed. Caring for it is not selfish when the intention is balance and service. Rest, nourishment, movement, breath, and quiet are not distractions from purpose. They preserve the vessel through which purpose can move. Discipline matters, but discipline without compassion becomes violence against the self. Compassion matters, but compassion without discipline becomes endless postponement. The middle path requires both. You must learn when to push forward and when to recover, when to persist and when to release, when to serve and when to become still. The company you keep also influences the direction of your life. Vedic teachings have long emphasized the power of association. The thoughts, values, and habits of those around you slowly shape your own mind. If you remain surrounded by people who mock growth, normalize dishonesty, worship appearances, or constantly pull you back toward your old self, your mission becomes harder to hear. This does not mean you must reject everyone who is different from you. It means you must become conscious of influence. Ask whether your relationships strengthen truth or weaken it. Ask whether you leave certain conversations feeling clearer or more confused, more courageous or more doubtful, more compassionate or more bitter. Some people will support your awakening. Others will benefit from your sleep. The difficult truth is that not everyone who loves your presence loves your growth. Some are comfortable with the version of you who had no boundaries, no direction, and no courage to say no. When that version begins to disappear, resistance may rise. You must learn to recognize the difference between loving guidance and fear-based control. A true guide may challenge you, but the challenge brings you closer to integrity. Control asks you to remain small, so another person can remain comfortable. The path toward your mission will ask for boundaries. Boundaries are not walls against love. They are the structure that protects what is sacred. Without them, your time, attention, and energy are constantly consumed by demands that do not belong to your dharma. You may spend your entire life responding to other people's emergencies while abandoning the quiet responsibility your soul has been carrying. Still, boundaries must be held without hatred. The goal is not to become cold, it is to become clear. You can care without surrendering your direction. You can forgive without reopening every door. You can love someone and still refuse to participate in the patterns that keep both of you unconscious. One of the deepest reasons people move away from their mission is that they do not trust themselves. Years of criticism, failure, rejection, or confusion may have weakened their inner authority. Even when they sense the right direction, they immediately search for someone else to confirm it. Guidance has value, but no teacher can live your dharma for you. At some point, you must become responsible for the voice you follow. You must test your intuition with wisdom, patience, and honest observation. You must learn how fear feels in the body and how truth feels. Fear often creates urgency, confusion, and the need to control. Truth may still be frightening, but beneath the fear there is a strange steadiness. It does not scream, it remains. Your soul's mission is not destroyed by wrong turns. Many people fear that they have wasted too much time, chosen the wrong path, or missed their opportunity. But every sincere awakening can become part of the mission. Even years of wandering can produce wisdom when you finally understand what the wandering taught you. The path is not always straight because consciousness does not grow in a straight line. You may repeat lessons, return to old habits, and forget what you once understood. The important question is not whether you have ever been lost. The question is whether you are willing to return when you recognize it. Every return strengthens awareness. Every honest correction weakens unconscious karma. Every time you choose truth over habit, the mission becomes clearer. You do not need to eliminate every fear before living your purpose. You do not need perfect confidence, perfect healing, or perfect circumstances. You need enough awareness to recognize what pulls you away and enough courage to stop obeying it blindly. The world will always offer distractions. The ego will always create reasons to delay. The past will always try to define what is possible. But beneath all of this, your soul continues to call. It calls through restlessness when you settle for less than truth. It calls through peace when you act with integrity. It calls through the gifts you cannot permanently suppress, the lessons you cannot avoid, and the service that makes your life feel meaningful. Your purpose has not abandoned you. It is waiting beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the approval you have been chasing, and beneath the identity you have outgrown. The question is no longer whether your soul has a mission. The question is whether you are willing to release the forces that have kept you from answering it. Chapter 5. The people who were sent to awaken your mission. Some people enter your life gently, while others arrive like storms. Some stay for many years, and others disappear almost as quickly as they came. A few bring love, a few bring pain, and some bring both so deeply intertwined that you spend years trying to understand whether they were a blessing or a wound. Yet according to Vedic wisdom, the most important relationships in your life are rarely meaningless encounters. They become part of the karmic field through which your soul is challenged, revealed, refined, and awakened. This does not mean every person was specially assigned to you by an invisible force, nor does it mean every relationship must be preserved forever. It means that once someone enters your experience, the relationship creates an opportunity for consciousness. Through that person, you may discover an attachment you did not know you carried, a fear you had hidden, a gift you had neglected, or a truth you were finally ready to face. The person may leave, but the awakening they caused can remain. The ancient Vedic view of life does not separate spiritual growth from human relationships. It recognizes that relationships are among the most powerful mirrors available to the soul. Meditation may reveal your thoughts in silence, but relationships reveal your consciousness in motion. It is easy to believe you are patient when no one is testing your patience. It is easy to call yourself peaceful when no one is challenging your pride. It is easy to speak of detachment until someone you love begins to pull away. Relationships expose the distance between the person you imagine yourself to be and the person you become when desire, fear, jealousy, rejection, or loss enters the room. This exposure can feel painful, but it is also sacred. What becomes visible can be transformed. What remains hidden continues controlling you. Some people enter your life as mirrors. They reflect qualities you admire, reject, fear, or refuse to acknowledge within yourself. You may feel an immediate attraction because they express a freedom, courage, tenderness, or power that your own soul is trying to awaken. Their presence reminds you of a part of yourself you abandoned long ago. You believe you are drawn only to them, but sometimes you are drawn to the unlived version of yourself that becomes visible in their presence. In other cases, the mirror is uncomfortable. Someone's arrogance may disturb you because it touches your own need to feel superior. Someone's dishonesty may awaken rage because you have been avoiding a truth in your own life. Someone's weakness may frustrate you because it resembles the vulnerability you refuse to forgive within yourself. This does not mean every negative reaction is merely projection. People can behave harmfully, and discernment is necessary. But a wise person also asks why a particular behavior has such power over their inner state. The mirror does not excuse the other person. It educates you. It invites you to examine what the relationship is revealing, where your boundaries are weak, where your ego is wounded, and where old karma continues shaping your response. When you accept the lesson, you are no longer trapped in the belief that peace can begin only after the other person changes. You start working with the part of the experience that is actually in your hands. Some people arrive as messengers. They may speak one sentence that changes the direction of your life. They may introduce you to a teaching, an opportunity, a place, or a possibility that awakens something dormant within you. Often, the messenger does not understand the importance of what they have done. They simply deliver a key and continue on their way. A stranger may offer encouragement at the exact moment you were prepared to give up. A teacher may recognize a gift you considered ordinary. A friend may question the life you accepted without reflection. Even someone who rejects you may unknowingly redirect you toward the path that was waiting beyond that closed door. The ego judges people according to whether they gave pleasure or pain. The soul sees more deeply. It asks what movement began because they appeared. It asks what truth became visible, what decision became necessary, and what sleeping part of you was disturbed into life. This is why some endings can be understood only years later. At the moment of separation, you may see only loss. With time, you begin noticing the strength, clarity, independence, or direction that emerged afterward. The person did not remain, but the life they forced you to discover became part of your mission. Other people enter as tests. They place you in situations where you must choose between old conditioning and awakened action. They may tempt you to abandon your values for approval. They may repeatedly cross your boundaries, forcing you to decide whether love requires self-betrayal. They may awaken anger so intense that you must learn whether you will react unconsciously or act with discernment. A test is not always sent to make you suffer. It reveals what still has power over you. When the same kind of relationship keeps returning, only with different faces and names, Vedic wisdom would ask you to look beyond coincidence. Perhaps the lesson is not about the individuals alone. Perhaps it is about the pattern in you that continues choosing, tolerating, or creating the same dynamic. You may repeatedly attract people who cannot give you the love you seek, because some part of you still believes love must be earned through struggle. You may repeatedly rescue those who refuse to take responsibility, because being needed protects you from facing your own emptiness. You may remain close to controlling people, because your fear of rejection is stronger than your commitment to freedom. The pattern continues not because the universe enjoys watching you suffer, but because unconscious karma repeats until awareness interrupts it. What is not understood returns. What is not healed seeks another expression. What is not faced becomes fate. The moment you recognize the pattern, you are no longer only inside it. Awareness creates distance, and distance creates choice. This is where karma begins to change. You may still feel the old attraction, fear, or obligation, but you no longer have to obey it automatically. You can choose a new response, even when the new response feels unfamiliar. Some people awaken your mission through love. Their faith in you becomes stronger than your doubt. They remind you of your abilities when fear has hidden them. They create a space where you feel safe enough to become honest. And through their presence, you begin imagining a life you once believed was impossible. True support does not make you dependent. It strengthens your capacity to stand. A person who is aligned with your growth does not need you to remain weak so they can feel important. They do not compete with your awakening. They celebrate the truth becoming visible within you. However, even loving relationships must not become substitutes for your inner authority. A guide can show you a door, but you must walk through it. A companion can share the road, but they cannot complete your dharma. When you make another person responsible for your purpose, peace, or identity, love slowly becomes attachment. Attachment says, "Without you, I cannot be who I am." Love says, "Your presence enriches my life, but my soul still belongs to truth." This distinction is essential because many people abandon their hidden mission while trying to preserve a relationship. They silence a calling, reduce their gifts, ignore their boundaries, or live against their values because they fear losing someone. They call this sacrifice, but not every sacrifice is sacred. Some sacrifices are simply self-abandonment, decorated with beautiful language. Vedic wisdom honors duty, loyalty, and devotion, but true duty never requires the destruction of consciousness. Your responsibilities may ask for patience, compromise, and service, yet they should not demand that you become permanently false. A relationship can require effort without requiring the death of your soul. Sometimes the person you love is not meant to accompany you into the next stage of your life. This truth can be devastating because the heart often confuses duration with destiny. You assume that because someone mattered deeply, they must remain forever. Yet some relationships are complete when the lesson has been received. Continuing them beyond that point may create suffering for both people. Completion is not failure. A season can be meaningful without becoming permanent. A relationship can be sacred without lasting a lifetime. The soul measures an encounter not only by how long it lasted, but by what consciousness became through it. This does not mean you should leave whenever difficulty appears. Every deep relationship has seasons of discomfort, misunderstanding, and growth. The question is whether the relationship is capable of truth. Can both people reflect, take responsibility, change harmful patterns, and respect one another's dignity? Difficulty can deepen love when consciousness is present, but when one person is committed to growth and the other is committed only to control, the relationship becomes a prison disguised as loyalty. Your hidden mission may require you to learn the difference between compassion and permission. Compassion recognizes another person's wounds. Permission allows those wounds to keep harming you without consequence. You can understand why someone behaves as they do while still refusing to become the place where their unhealed pain is repeatedly expressed. Boundaries are often one of the greatest karmic lessons in relationships. A boundary says that love must exist alongside truth. It protects your energy, values, time, and spiritual direction. Without boundaries, your life becomes shaped by the loudest demand around you, and the quieter call of your mission is continually postponed. At first, setting boundaries may feel selfish, especially if you were taught that goodness means endless availability. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries may call your growth coldness, but clarity is not cruelty. Saying no to what destroys your peace can become a way of saying yes to the work your soul came here to complete. The people who awaken your mission are not always those who stay close. Sometimes an enemy reveals your strength more quickly than a friend. A betrayal may force you to develop discernment. A rejection may push you toward independence. A person who underestimated you may awaken a determination that comfort never could. Again, this does not make betrayal noble or harm acceptable. It means that no person has complete control over the meaning their actions will create in your life. Someone may intend to break you, yet your consciousness can transform the wound into wisdom. They may close one path only to force you toward another that becomes central to your dharma. This is the freedom of the soul. Experience can influence you, but it does not have to define the final form you take. Some relationships also carry the weight of family karma. You may enter a family where the same patterns have been repeated across generations: silence, addiction, anger, abandonment, fear, emotional distance, or sacrifice without boundaries. At first, these patterns appear normal because they are all you know. Later, awareness begins to reveal that what was inherited does not have to be continued. The person who becomes conscious within an unconscious family system often feels alone. When you stop participating in an old pattern, others may accuse you of changing, disrespecting tradition, or creating conflict. In reality, your refusal to continue the pattern exposes what everyone else learned to avoid. Ending generational karma rarely feels peaceful at the beginning. It disturbs the structure that depended on silence. Yet your mission may be precisely this: to become the person through whom a cycle finally stops. Perhaps you are the first to speak honestly, the first to seek healing, the first to refuse abuse, the first to offer children emotional safety, the first to choose a relationship based on respect rather than fear, the first to prove that love does not have to look like suffering. This mission may never bring public recognition, but its influence can move through generations. A single awakened choice can change the emotional inheritance of people who have not yet been born. Vedic thought reminds us that karma is not only personal. Actions move through families, communities, and time. When you transform what was handed to you, you create a different field for those who follow. Some people awaken your mission by becoming examples of what is possible. Their life creates a new image in your mind. They do not merely tell you to change, they embody the change. Their courage gives language to your hidden courage. Their discipline awakens your neglected discipline. Their peace shows you that another way of living exists. Do not worship such people. Learn from them. A true teacher points beyond themselves. They do not make your soul smaller. They help you recognize the wisdom that must eventually awaken within you. The goal is not to copy their path, but to allow their example to clarify your own. You must also understand that you will become a mirror, messenger, and test in the lives of others. Your mission is not only shaped by what people bring to you, it is shaped by what you bring to them. A careless word may deepen a wound. A courageous act may awaken hope. Your honesty may give someone permission to stop living falsely. Your kindness may reach a person at the exact moment they are close to surrendering. You will not always know the effect of your presence. Much of the soul's work happens quietly. The person you encouraged may remember your words for years. The child you treated with respect may build a different understanding of their own worth. The truth you spoke may continue moving long after you have forgotten the conversation. This is why your character matters. Your mission is not fulfilled only through major achievements. It is also fulfilled through the consciousness you bring into ordinary encounters. Every relationship becomes a place where karma is either repeated or transformed. When someone hurts you, do you automatically return the pain, or do you respond with clarity and self-respect? When someone trusts you, do you honor that trust? When you gain power, do you use it to serve or control? When another person succeeds, do you celebrate or secretly resent them? These small moments reveal whether the mission is becoming embodied or remaining only an idea. The people in your life are not distractions from your spiritual journey. They are often the place where the journey becomes real. It is through them that patience becomes more than a word, compassion becomes more than a belief, and detachment becomes more than a philosophy. Yet there is another lesson. Not every person deserves unlimited access to you. Spirituality without discernment becomes vulnerability to manipulation. You are not required to remain close to everyone you forgive. You are not required to explain your boundaries until they are approved. You are not required to carry people who continuously refuse to walk. There are times when your mission requires staying and working through difficulty. There are also times when it requires leaving. Wisdom is the capacity to know the difference. When you are confused, observe the fruit of the relationship. Does it make you more truthful or more deceptive? More courageous or more fearful? More compassionate or more resentful? Does it support responsibility or does it reward avoidance? Are you growing through the relationship or are you continually shrinking to keep it alive? No relationship is perfect, and temporary pain does not prove misalignment. But repeated self-betrayal is not love. Chronic confusion is not spiritual depth. A bond that requires you to lose your dignity cannot guide you toward your highest dharma. Sometimes the most loving decision is to release someone without hatred, to recognize that their role has ended, to carry the lesson without carrying the relationship, to stop waiting for a person to become who your imagination promised they could be. Release does not erase meaning. It allows meaning to mature. You can be grateful for what someone awakened and still accept that their presence is no longer healthy. You can bless the chapter without reopening it. You can remember the love without returning to the pattern. As awareness grows, you begin to stop asking only, "Why did this person enter my life?" You begin asking, "What did their presence reveal about the mission of my soul?" Perhaps they awakened your voice. Perhaps they taught you boundaries. Perhaps they exposed an old wound that needed healing. Perhaps they led you toward a gift, a place, or a truth you would never have discovered alone. And perhaps you entered their life for a reason as well. The full design of human connection cannot always be understood by the mind. Some threads become visible only after many years. Others may remain mysterious throughout this lifetime. You do not need to understand every karmic detail to receive the lesson. You need only enough awareness to notice what each relationship is asking you to become. The people sent to awaken your mission will not always look spiritual. They may be difficult, imperfect, loving, wounded, generous, or confusing. Their role may be to support you, challenge you, redirect you, or force you to discover strength you did not know you carried. Do not judge the importance of a relationship only by whether it remained. Ask what awakened because it happened. Some people are companions, some are teachers, some are mirrors, some are warnings, some are doors, some are endings that lead you back to yourself. But every conscious encounter can move you closer to the hidden work your soul came here to complete. And when you finally understand this, you stop seeing relationships only as sources of happiness or pain. You begin seeing them as sacred crossroads where destiny, karma, choice, and awakening meet. Chapter 6. Completing your soul's mission before death. One day, this body will grow old. One day, every title, possession, achievement, and relationship will remain behind. The only question that will truly matter is whether your soul became more awake than it was when this journey began. The Vedas teach that a meaningful life is not measured by how much you collected, but by how deeply you transformed. Every moment you choose truth over fear, compassion over anger, wisdom over ignorance, and service over selfishness, you move one step closer to completing the mission your soul accepted before birth. Many people believe they need to accomplish something extraordinary before their life has meaning. But your soul is not asking you to become famous. It is asking you to become authentic. It is asking you to live in harmony with your dharma, to use your gifts with humility, to learn the lessons hidden inside your struggles, and to leave this world with a lighter heart than the one you entered with. Completing your mission does not mean living a perfect life. You will still make mistakes. You will still experience fear, loss, and uncertainty. The difference is that you no longer allow those experiences to pull you away from your purpose. Instead, they become part of the wisdom that shapes your character. Every day becomes an opportunity to complete a little more of the work your soul came here to do. Every act of forgiveness releases old karma. Every honest decision strengthens your consciousness. Every moment of awareness frees you from another layer of illusion. Your soul's mission is not completed in one great moment. It is completed through thousands of small choices that slowly transform the person you are becoming. When your final day arrives, the greatest success will not be the life the world applauds. It will be knowing that you honored the sacred mission your soul carried into this world, and that you leave with nothing important left undone. Chapter 7. Awakening to your eternal self. After everything your soul experiences in this lifetime, there is one final realization waiting beyond every lesson, every success, every failure, and every relationship. It is the realization that your hidden mission was never only about changing your outer life. It was about awakening your inner self. The Vedas teach that beneath your name, your body, your memories, and your personality lives the Atman, the eternal self that is never born and never dies. Throughout life, we become so attached to our roles that we forget who we truly are. We begin believing we are our achievements, our possessions, our pain, or even our past. But these are only temporary experiences. They are not your true identity. As your soul moves closer to completing its mission, something beautiful begins to happen. You stop searching for happiness only in the outside world and begin discovering a peace that already exists within you. Your circumstances may continue to change, but your inner foundation becomes steady. You no longer depend on constant approval, endless success, or perfect conditions to feel complete. This is not because life suddenly becomes easy. It is because your consciousness has become stronger than your circumstances. The fears that once controlled your decisions slowly lose their grip. The attachments that once caused endless suffering begin to dissolve. The anger you carried for years no longer feels worth holding. Instead of asking why life happened to you, you begin asking how every experience helped your soul awaken. This is the true victory described by the Vedas, not conquering the world, but conquering the ignorance that made you forget your eternal nature. When this awakening begins, your purpose becomes much clearer. You stop trying to prove your worth to others and start living according to your dharma. Every act of kindness becomes meaningful. Every truthful decision strengthens your soul. Every moment of awareness becomes another step toward inner freedom. The greatest achievement is not becoming someone the world remembers. It is becoming someone your soul recognizes. One day, this human journey will come to an end. Your body will return to the earth, but your consciousness will continue its eternal journey. At that moment, what will matter most is not how much you owned or how many people admired you. What will matter is whether you remembered who you truly were, because the hidden mission of your soul was never simply to live another life. It was to awaken before that life was over. As we reach the end of this journey, take a quiet moment and ask yourself one final question. If your soul truly came into this world with a hidden mission, have you been living for that mission, or have you been living only for the expectations of the world? The Vedas remind us that every human life is a rare and sacred opportunity. Wealth will remain behind, titles will fade, the body itself will one day return to the earth. But the consciousness you cultivate, the karma you transform, the love you share, and the wisdom you awaken will continue long after this lifetime has ended. Perhaps that is why these ancient teachings have survived for thousands of years. They were never meant simply to explain life. They were meant to awaken it. If this audiobook has taught you anything, let it be this: you are not here by accident. Your greatest struggles were never meant to define you. Your deepest wounds were never meant to become your identity, and your soul did not cross countless lifetimes merely to survive another human existence. It came here to remember, to awaken, to serve, to grow beyond fear, and to complete the sacred mission that only you can fulfill. No one else can walk your path. No one else can learn your lessons. No one else can complete the work your soul accepted before your first breath. That responsibility has always belonged to you. So when you leave this audiobook, do not search for another life. Begin living this one with greater awareness. Listen more carefully to your inner voice. Choose truth over comfort. Choose wisdom over illusion. Choose courage over fear. And each day, take one small step toward the person your soul has always been trying to become. Because one day, when this journey is complete and your soul looks back upon this lifetime, the question will not be how much you owned, how successful you became, or how many people remembered your name. The only question that will truly matter is this: did you remember why you came here? Thank you for sharing this journey through the timeless wisdom of the Vedas. If these teachings resonated with something deep within you, then perhaps your soul was ready to hear them. Until our paths meet again, walk with awareness, live with purpose, seek truth with humility, and never forget, the mission your soul is searching for is not waiting somewhere in the future. It begins the moment you awaken to who you truly are.